Well, folks, Minnesota Democrats are in an absolute freefall right now. I mean, they are in peril right now. This is how bad things are for the Democrats in Minnesota right now. Obviously, they were absolutely taken aback when they found out that current U.S. Senator Tina Smith, the far-left radical lunatic, will not be running for re-election in 2026, teeing up a pretty fierce primary battle in the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party. But before we get into this, drop down below, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another video from us again. So, yesterday, Tina Smith had released a video basically just saying, I'll sum it up, she's leeched off the ass of America for a long enough time that she can financially support herself until she dies. Therefore, she will no longer be running for, she no longer needs this position anymore. What she actually said was she wants to spend more time with her grandkids. Yeah, whatever. Say what you got to say. But it has created a fierce battle inside of Minnesota right now. Tensions have been very high between Governor Walz and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, who, of course, we know Tim Walz was on the failed presidential ticket with Kamala Harris, and it sounds like Miss Flanagan had a lot of plans for the governorship when she assumed it. If Walz would have became the vice president, which would have just been terrible for America. It's like, you look what they did. We had an $18 billion surplus just a few years ago here in Minnesota, and now we're billions and billions and billions of dollars in a deficit. You know, it's just absolutely ridiculous what these people have done. Peggy Flanagan, who is our local Pocahontas, who is a part of the Ojibwe tribe. There's just been a lot of... there's been a big fallout between the two, and it's causing a big rift. Now, this is from Dustin Grage, that Walz's team, we've got the Politico article here, but he's saying that Tim Walz's team leaked the Politico information about that he wants to run for the U.S. Senate seat, 100% legit. Peggy and Flanagan and Walz have been really sparing behind the scenes about this, and she's been really flexing her muscles on this. Like, right after Tina Smith, within hours of Tina Smith announcing she wasn't going to run, Peggy Flanagan had gone out, said that she was going to be running for the U.S. Senate seat, and that Ilhan Omar had also come out, said similar things. But obviously, this was a calculated political move. You're gonna try and leapfrog many people who are above you. People like Tim Walz, Secretary of State Steve Simon, even Julie Blaha, I think she's the state auditor here in Minnesota. But really, she sees her aspirations as a lot higher than the lieutenant governor's office, which makes sense, but obviously creating a lot of issues in Minnesota. Also, it sounds like Angie Craig, who currently represents Minnesota's 2nd congressional district, won in the swing district by like 7 or 8 points in the 24 election. It was a swing state or a swing district, but she won it pretty handedly. Is apparently Governor Walz, if he decides to run for the Senate seat, which we don't know yet. He's interested, definitely, but we don't have a definite answer. But Angie Craig is his next pick for governor. She is definitely a more moderate Democrat, obviously still a crazy lunatic, but she's more moderate relative to the party itself. Obviously, progressives not real happy about that. They do not like the idea of a more moderate Democrat. They want to go further to the left. My guess is that if Ilhan Omar doesn't run or win the Democrat primary for the Senate, my guess is that Ilhan Omar is going to probably try and run for governor, maybe even Keith Ellison, which that's going to appease the progressives. They want about as radical as you can get. Just for reference, how radical you can get. Keith Ellison right now, along with the state of Washington and Oregon attorney generals, are suing the Trump administration for revoking funding for any medical institution or anybody who receives funds that that does transition surgeries, child mutilation surgeries, and chemical and surgical mutilation processes. They are withholding funds. This is how radical they are, that they are trying to make sure that 12-year-olds can mutilate themselves. Like, how ridiculous is this? How absolutely just asinine is this? Not even the left-wing California Attorney General has jumped on board with that. That's how far left Minnesota is under Keith Ellison, is that we are even further left than California. Just ridiculous. But it is going to get ugly here in Minneapolis with the DFL caucuses. And I think Republicans, if they're smart, they can capitalize on this. If they choose to go with a moderate Republican who is going to fall in line 60, 70, 75% of the time, this can be a good chance for Republicans to pick up another seat in the U.S. Senate for the next 6 years. Democrats are going to have to use a lot of political capital and resources in the Democrat primary. There are a lot of people who are going to be really jumping at this, who have ambitions for higher office. Obviously, Keith Ellison, Ilhan Omar, Julie Blaha. And we also know that there's been other names floated around. Angie Craig didn't rule out running for the Senate seat. So it's going to be a big fight. And Republicans need to step up. They need to do what needs to be done here. They need to put a good, moderate Republican. You try and go the Royce White route, it's going to be tough. You're not going to get a MAGA Republican in. It's just not going to happen. Like, I hate to say it, it's just not going to happen. You're not going to get a Tommy Tuberville in Minnesota elected. Sorry, it's just not going to happen. You're probably not even going to get like a Ron Johnson or a Rand Paul out of Minnesota. Let's just be realistic about this and actually try and win the seat. Because we can either have a Republican who's going to vote with you 70% of the time, or you have a Democrat that votes with you 0% of the time. So that's really the difference here. But big fallout between the two here. Obviously, in 2017, Flanagan was tapped as a member of the White Earth Band of Ojibwe, who was then a 2-term state legislator as his running mate for Governor Walz when he ran in 2018. Walz was a lot more moderate when he initially ran. He has become more liberal, leftist lunatic. The guy is crazy. And, this is going to be a big fight. Like we said, Walz, irritated by Flanagan's behind-the-scene moves to prepare for her own political administration and campaign, including spending money from their gubernatorial campaign account without his sign-off. Yeah, I'd be a little pissed if my number 2 did that too. But, of course they're using the scheduling conflicts, yada, yada, yada. No, the two just hate each other right now. Let's just be real about this. Let's not lie. Let's not lie about this. But we're going to see who's all going to throw their name in the ring, and I'm guessing it's going to get hot pretty quickly. With who we're going to see throw their name in here. But obviously a lot of tension in Minnesota. Republicans, great opportunity to jump in, to really take control and capitalize on the Democrats infighting. They've got a number of different people. State Senator Julia Coleman, Representative Kristen Robbins, and then Ryan Wilson, who is the 2022 state auditor, came the closest to winning a election in 2022 on the GOP side. I'd even say throw in Jim Schultz. He ran against Keith Ellison, only lost by about a point in the state. Jim Schultz did. He's a lawyer from Minnesota. I think that'd be a great name to throw out there. State Senator Karen Housley, she ran against Smith in 2018 when she was running to get a full 6 years on her seat. And then Representative Pete Stauber, I don't really know how I feel about that one. Hasn't ruled out the idea. Definitely something I need to look into more. But obviously, I think Adam Schwartzy, I've heard a couple things. Border security is going to be a big one and cut in the federal budget. You like to hear those big things, but, I got to dig into more of what his actual policy positions are. And then Royce White. Here's the thing. I like a lot of Royce White's policy positions, and I agree with him a lot. But the things that he is very, very hardcore MAGA, he is not going to be... MAGA is not going to win going full MAGA in Minnesota. It's just not going to happen. And if the GOP decides to run Royce White again, they can basically just kiss this race goodbye. The National Senatorial Republican Committee, the Republican Senatorial Committee, basically came out last week and said their 3 targets for the 2026 midterm elections are Georgia, Michigan, and New Hampshire. I'd say that the Republicans on the national level need to look at this. Maybe look at switching out New Hampshire for Minnesota in that 3rd spot. Obviously, New Hampshire, it's more of a lean Democrat. They're going to have, as of right now, we don't have any other information to contradict this, but we're going to have an incumbent senator running in that race on the Democrat side who is popular in New Hampshire. I think this is an opportunity for the Republicans at the national level to step in and really pick someone in the primaries to be the person who's going to lead them forward. Someone more like a Susan Collins from Maine, maybe not even as moderate as she is, maybe a little more conservative than she is. But I think this is an opportunity that the GOP can step up on the national level, come in, pick a good, strong statewide candidate who has good name recognition here, who can pull together a coalition of Republicans, Independents, and Democrats. But we're going to see how the next couple weeks unfold. Do the Republicans on the national level want to jump in, maybe play politics in this race and really try and dictate who's going to be the nominee to hopefully set up, less in-party fighting, more of a focusing on the general election. But we're going to see what happens. We've got almost 2 years until this election is going to take place. Plenty of time to cover. So let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments about this. And as always, like, share, comment for more. And that'll be it for today.